Hello, brothers and sisters. It's your boy BC. Welcome back to another Based LDS video. And once again, I'm making a video I do not want to make, but I think I have to make. We are losing our freedoms in this country. And we are losing them because of the degenerate values of those who claim to stand for this country hold. And the corrupt politicians who bankrupt our nation that they might gain short-term wealth and power. I want to go to the scriptures for a minute. Look, I do not think there's anything that has happened in the scriptures that is not happening in our day. But you need to learn to see parallels. So let's go to Alma 30 from the Book of Mormon, shall we? And this is just before Korihor. This is when Korihor comes on the scene. And this describes the state of the Nephites as he's arriving. The anti-Nephites have moved into the land. They've settled in. They and the Nephites defeated the Lamanites. There's peace for almost 20 years, 17 years it looks like. And then trouble comes up. But I don't think trouble comes out of nowhere. I think trouble starts, but we don't record it until it's got some more force or effect than it would otherwise have. So here's what is recorded in Alma 30 after 17 years of peace. But it came to pass in the latter end of the 17th year, there came a man into the land of Zarahemla. And he was Antichrist, for he began to preach unto the people against their prophecies, which had been spoken by the prophets concerning the coming of Christ. Now there was no law against a man's belief, for it was strictly contrary to the commands of God that there should be a law which should bring men onto unequal grounds. For thus saith the Scripture, choose ye this day whom ye will serve. Now if a man desired to serve God, it was his privilege, or rather, if he believed in God, it was his privilege to serve him. But if he did not believe in him, there was no law to punish him. Brothers and sisters, that is separation of church and state. That is right of conscience. That is liberty. You can pursue a lifestyle in support of your beliefs. If it involves God, go to church and do what you have to do. If it does not, be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do. But there were laws, murder, thieving, adultery, you get the idea. There were laws to keep people in check for safety's sake. But at this point, you can believe whatever you want to believe. Fast forward, after Alma's run in with Korihor, he decides to give up the judgment seat and to preach the word of God, believing that it can reclaim the people. Because the people are going astray, and it seems that they didn't see it until Korihor came up among them. And so we move to Alma 31 after they begin their mission. Okay, let's see here. Now the Zoramites were dissenters from the Nephites. Therefore, they had the word of God preached unto them. There were Americans who had been taught about liberty and the history of this country. But they'd fallen into great errors, for they would not observe to keep the commandments of God and the statutes according to the law of Moses. Neither would they observe the performances of the church to continue in prayer and supplication to God daily that they might not enter into temptation. Just as there are Americans that now subscribe to the fact that everything is racist and built upon some sort of an oppressive system that keeps anyone from being truly free or equal, and that people of a certain class or color or religion or gender or fill in the blank are oppressed. These are corruptions in history, corruptions in philosophy, corruptions in speech. Yea, in fine, they did pervert the ways of the Lord in very many instances. Therefore, for this cause, Alma and his brethren went into the land to preach the word unto them. America's only export is culture. It's not steel anymore. It's not timber. It's not grain. It's not fill in the blank. Yeah, we still provide a lot of stuff, but we're not what we used to be. Now it's Hollywood. Now it's music. Now it's degenerate ideologies in the media. Now when they had come back into the land, behold, to their astonishment, they found that the Zoramites had built synagogues, that they did gather themselves together on one day of the week. Which day they did call the day of the Lord, and they did worship after a manner which Alma and his brethren had never beheld. For they had a place built up in the center of their synagogue, a place for standing, which was high above the head, and the top thereof would only admit one person. Therefore, whosoever desired to worship must go forth and stand upon the top thereof, and stretch forth his hands toward heaven, and cry with a loud voice, saying, Holy, holy God, we believe that thou art God, and we believe that thou art holy. And thou wast a spirit, and thou art a spirit, and thou wilt be a spirit forever. Holy God, we believe that thou hast separated us from our brethren, and we do not believe in the traditions of our fathers, which is handed down to them by the children of their fathers, childishness of their fathers. But we believe that thou hast elected us to be thy holy children, and also thou hast made it known unto us that there shall be no Christ. But thou art the same yesterday, today, and forever, and thou hast elected us that we shall be saved, whilst all around us are elected to be cast by thy wrath down to hell. For the which holiness, O God, we thank thee, and we also thank thee that thou hast elected us, that we may not be led away after the foolish traditions of our fathers, of our brethren, which doth bind them down to a belief of Christ, which did lead their hearts to wander far from thee, our God. And again we thank thee, O God, that we're a chosen and a holy people. Amen. These are your progressives. These are your adherents to the new religion of critical theory. These are lost and fallen people who follow the message that they might gain salvation in this world. And they look down upon anyone who will not toe their line. And you must have the correct message. How many of you guys in the news have seen somebody, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter author, she's retroing the stories that Dumbledore's gay, and this person doing this, and this person doing that, and these stories are this way, and she's the darling of the progressive movement. Oh, gay characters, oh, this, oh, that. But then she says, but a woman is an adult human female. Trans women are not women. And the heads explode of the people up on the Rameumptom because someone has spoken against them. Think about it. Now from this stand they did offer up every man the selfsame prayer unto God, thanking their God that they were chosen of him. What do they think about themselves in America? And now, because our culture's exported in other places, that they're chosen, that they have right ideas, that they have right beliefs, that they have the correct morality. That he, God, did not lead them away after the traditions of their brethren. The traditions of their brethren. We're talking about the traditions of our country and of Western civilization and of Christianity. And then they go to their homes, their rich, lavish mansions, behind securely locked gates with high walls. And they don't speak of anything until they get up to offer this message again to the world. and to give thanks for their greatness. Now, brothers and sisters, you wonder, right, BC, why are you bringing this up? Let me tell you. This is a certain edgelord I listen to named Carl Benjamin. Carl Benjamin lives in the UK, and he has been a long time YouTube personality. I mean, long time. And I've listened to him now for maybe 7, 8 years, probably longer than 8 even. He's edgy. He's provocative. He's brash. He's bold. He's not timid. He's not shy. He's not afraid. And he's said some things that have got him into trouble in the past. 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, they just celebrated their 2-year anniversary, he formed a new media company called the Lotus Eaters. He's big into classical tradition. Lotus Eaters were, Odysseus encountered them on his travel home from Troy. You read about him in the Odyssey. Carl Benjamin was also known as Sargon of Akkad. I love the dude. He's funny. He's witty. But he has toned down his narrative. He's taken strong stances. He's kept his stances, but he's toned down the rhetoric that he might speak to broader audiences. So he's been on the platforms now for a decade plus, and his new podcast is going 2 years strong, doing, by all reports, very well. This is someone I still regularly follow. I'm just going to let his clip play.
To demonetize this channel. This came as a bolt from the blue to us at lotuseast.com because we are very well versed in YouTube's monetization rules and were, in fact, told by YouTube that our monetization self-assessment was so good it was being used as an example of how self-assessment should work. We are in good standing, we have no strikes, and we work hard to maintain ourselves within the terms of service. We take them very seriously. When YouTube announced that they would be demonetizing videos for swearing, for example, it didn't faze us, as we don't swear on this channel. The reason given for our demonetization was, quote, "A channel associated with your account was flagged for serious violations of our YouTube monetization policies." It seems they are not penalizing us for our content or practices. They have decided that a non-Lotus Eaters YouTube account has been flagged. Then that means that this YouTube account is also guilty. We appealed the decision, but of course, YouTube simply replied by saying, "You're welcome to make any changes to your content before reapplying for the YouTube Partner Program." Which is not terribly helpful, given how the issue wasn't with our content, but with our associations. I have no idea what changes we're supposed to make, and YouTube doesn't provide any specific guidance. This amounts to YouTube telling us simply that we're bad people, and unworthy of being allowed to earn money by driving traffic to their website, and no amount of changing yourself is worthy of consideration or respect. I want to make it clear, this is not a personal YouTube account. I do not own it, I do not operate it, and the money from it does not go to me. Legally, it is not associated with any previous YouTube accounts, and is instead owned by a registered corporation with all the responsibilities that go along with that status. Moreover, it's disappointing, given how much I have personally worked to improve myself, my conduct, and my content in the last 4 years, and how YouTube seems not to care about that effort at all. But of course, the root of this issue is political. Much as the same as the demonetization of Steven Crowder and other conservatives, YouTube's policy only cuts in one direction. Naturally, losing advertising revenue from YouTube isn't pleasant, and we will look into alternative sources of revenue to supplement the shortfall. However, we did expect this sword of Damocles would eventually fall because of the political environment in which we operate, and thankfully, I am confident we will survive. I can't tell you how much the team and I appreciate your support, and if you would like to begin supporting us, you can sign up at lotuseast.com and get access to our ever-growing live.
All right, I'm going to stop there because he's just letting people know YouTube is demonetized, which means the videos they make, they do not get paid. And for those of you wondering, they've got just shy of 350,000 subscribers. They get, let's see, this one video had 205,000 views 4 days ago. That's a lot of money. They make videos that get eyeballs. But those videos support his company. And Lotus Eaters, he's got about eight different presenters. They do a rotation where they come on and work together on a variety of subjects, from history to philosophy to current events to fill in the blank literature. But they are libertarian/conservative. They are anti-woke. And they are anti-the message. And they were demonetized. Notified 4 days ago. And I got on here 4 days ago, and I made a video following the Tennessee shooter. And I said I was hot. Now somebody replied, I don't know what the brass dance is, but I got on here knowing I could not say exactly what I thought or felt. Because I had watched this video earlier in the day, and until I heard about the school shooter, I was going to do a video on this. And that conservative, practical, religious voices, they do represent a variety of religions on here, by the way. Atheist, Catholic, Anglican, you get the idea. But they are pro-free speech and they are anti-woke. And I'm like, I want my channel to grow. Look, I've got 165 subscribers. Lately, every video I put out, I pick up another 2 to 3 subscribers. I get anywhere from 30 views to a couple hundred views. Although, hey, I did have one that hit 5,000 views. DC Temple, thank you. But I came on here like, okay, I can't say too much because I want to have this. I want to have a chance at being heard. Now, why am I doing this video now? Because I waited. Because yesterday, they received a copyright strike. They don't know why. Their channel was taken down and put on hold for a week. They appealed. YouTube says, nope, according to our process, you're still guilty. They were never advised as to what they were guilty of. Somebody else did a video on that. Somebody that Carl has worked with in the past. And they showed the email. And it doesn't say what they did wrong. Just copyright strike, appeal, denied, all in the same day. I'm sure they spent a lot of time looking into the appeal. But look, YouTube is not a free speech company. YouTube is not a company where you can speak freely and honestly according to what you believe and let your ideas compete in the marketplace of ideas. They support other ideas. And you don't dare go against other ideas with traditional conservative ideas. You know, much like the people from the Ramyampton were grateful that they had broken free from the traditions of their fathers, YouTube does not need or want the traditions of today interfering with their business plan. There is this idea out there called repressive tolerance, espoused by Herbert Marcuse, a philosopher in the Frankfurt School, a bunch of socialists that escaped Germany, settled in the U.S., and began the slow creep of socialism into the academics. Marcuse was the proponent of repressive tolerance. And in his idea, he said that true liberal tolerance did not currently exist in the world. That because of systems of oppression, no true tolerance could ever be had. That to have true tolerance, you have to squelch racist, phobic, oppressive speech so that then true tolerance might be expressed. So in other words, if you're going to speak against a message, you should not be allowed to be heard because you're oppressing the people. Now tell me, how oppressed are you when a couple times a year these companies are changing their logos? They spend a lot of money on their logos, but they change their branding to appease a fringe minority. And if you speak out and say, this is ridiculous, they ban you. If you speak out against current political regimes, the administration will reach out to the social media companies and say, hey, this person's dangerous. They're spreading misinformation or disinformation. Stop them. And the social media companies will say, yes, sir. We know this from the Twitter files. And we know this from the ongoing investigation into government corruption and collusion with the tech companies that did indeed sway the 2020 election. Now, that said, Joe Biden got the votes. I really believe that. I really believe Trump got more votes than he did in 2016. But I do believe Biden got the votes because of media disinformation, social media disinformation, government interference. Enough of the populace has admitted that voted for Biden that said, had they been more aware of the seriousness of the Hunter Biden laptop, they would have not voted for Biden and voted for Trump, or they would not have voted for Biden and just not voted at all. They swayed the election. There was it Time or was it Newsweek that talks about what was the fortification of the election, that certain brave corporate heads, tech heads, and believers in democracy and freedom got together to sway the election by fortifying the election. Brothers and sisters, government with tech and corporate interests like these flying these logos participated in that collusive cover-up. We know the FBI is involved in the insurrection, so-called, from January 6th. And it's funny, not as big a deal as being made of the current Kentucky insurrection. But we can't talk about that right now. That's a message for another day, especially since it involves the message. And your media is complicit. Look, I'm going to show a video. 2 months ago, see, hockey does these Pride Night events, which is to show that hockey's an inclusive sport and people from all backgrounds and orientations are welcome to hockey. And so they do these Pride Night events, and they'll wear special jerseys with rainbows on it or this and that, and they'll do a little presentation during the game. But it's a hockey game with a little bit of LGBTQ flair. And 2 months ago, media heads blew up because one player at one Pride Night game said, "I'm not wearing the jersey." And he wore his standard jersey. This was Ivan Provorov of the Philadelphia Flyers. He wore his standard jersey. The other players wore the Pride jersey. You would think no big thing. This guy made a decision. Here's how the media treated this.
What happened in Philadelphia last night?
No, but you were talking about it, and I need to see this.
Okay, it was Hockey is for Everyone night in support of LGBTQ2+ rights last night in Philadelphia. So in the warm-up, there were specific jerseys and hockey sticks used. One member of the Philadelphia Flyers, for religious reasons, did not take part in that warm-up. Ivan Provorov is a defenseman and claimed that because of his Russian Orthodox religion, he did not take part in this. Now, that was revealed after the game. It looked a little weird pregame when he wasn't out there. Mm-hmm. But after the game, the story really began to develop further when head coach John Tortorella was asked about why he wasn't out there. And he basically scolded the player publicly. Just kidding. He defended him. Listen to this.
He's being true to himself and to his religion. This has to do with his belief in his religion. And it's one thing I respect about Provi. He's always true to himself. And so that's where we're at with that.
Was there any consideration on your part when he chose not to wear the jersey to not play him as a result?
No. I'm not going to answer many more questions on it because I just think it's unfair. I know you're going to probably talk to Provi, but yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I think it was a great night in celebrating. Organization has put out a statement, and I'm not going to get too deep into the conversation.
So this was him obviously trying to get ahead of it, knowing there'd be backlash, saying, not going to say too much, but going to say this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's what everybody's talking about.
Completely. Three things, technically. Provorov also spoke to the media after the game and echoed what Tortorella said, so I didn't feel the need to run it. This happened in baseball last year with the Tampa Bay Rays. There were 5 members of the Tampa Bay Rays who wouldn't wear a patch supporting gay rights, mm-hmm. and Major League Baseball didn't do much. It was a story for a little bit. John Tortorella, many years ago, when racial injustice, and it still is till this day, but when Colin Kaepernick first started kneeling during national anthem, said anyone who does that on my team is going to sit. And he has a son who's an Army Ranger. So it's not like Tortorella in the past hasn't spoken on sensitive issues. The theme from the National Hockey League is hockey is for everyone, okay? The theme is not hockey is for everyone, ... unless you don't believe in gay rights, then do whatever you want. If the National Hockey League is going to do this, if any league is going to do this, do it properly or reevaluate what you're doing. Because there's not a lot of repercussions that I'm seeing from any league. Now, it could change with the NHL. I think you find the Flyers $1 million for this. I'm not kidding. Figure this out and stop offending people on nights where it's not about that. It's supposed to be about inclusivity. The National Hockey League need to attack this and figure this out. Because what I heard last night was offensive and didn't make any sense. Because, for instance, if that was a military night, okay?
Right.
If anyone in Canada or in the States on a military appreciation night wouldn't wear a jersey pregame, do you have any idea the uproar that would have happened on that? Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea the backlash? Do you have any idea what happened on social media? It's ridiculous what would have happened.
It was just a minute ago we were talking about the uproar that was happening with FIFA fever, where if you were seen with so much as a rainbow anywhere, you had to fear for your life, imprisonment, or death. Yeah. Seriously. So, and now here we are.
I just think the NHL has to do something here. This is not good enough. This is not good enough. Hockey is for everyone, ... unless you don't agree with gay rights is not the phrasing of this. You're either in this or you're not. And one last point. Nothing scares me more than any human being who says, I'm not doing this because of my religious beliefs. Because when you looked at people...
I want you to pay attention to how he's about to end this. Don't involve your religious beliefs, because...
people's lives, you normally say that publicly, you'd throw up at what you saw. You would throw up at what you saw. And I have seen that a million times in a lot of different ways. So don't give me that. With respect. Don't give me that, because no one's perfect. All right? Don't tell me, don't feed me the religious beliefs line. And all of a sudden the NHL is going to back off this. The National Hockey League today needs to fine that organization $1 million and reevaluate how they support gay rights. Because that is insulting. That is the #1 trending topic in Canada. That is insulting what happened in Philadelphia. And if the NHL is serious about this, they say they are. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see how serious they are today. But that whole thing was mishandled. And part of me couldn't believe it. Part of me could, considering how the NHL sometimes handles things.
And it's too important, and that's why you're continuing to talk about it, because you're not just going to brush it under the rug.
Well,
let's unmute the mic. The interesting thing there is they shut off the conversation because he also later said, and I could not find the full clip, interesting that Provorov, if he believes that intensely in his Russian Orthodox religion, maybe he should be shipped back off to Russia to fight for the Russians and maybe possibly catch a bullet and remember what being inclusive is. Look, see, that's the thing. Did you hear what they said? How dare you believe in something counter to the corporate message? This message up on your screens, or any other critical theory message, right? How dare you? How dare you disagree? How dare you voice discontent? How dare you dissent from the message? That's repressive tolerance. That is why conservative speakers get booed off of the campuses. That's why they show up and they yell and they scream. That is why Parker Posey goes to Australia, New Zealand to hold a women's conference and speak, and the mob goes nuts, and if not for her, security detail would have been beaten at least to a bloody pulp, let alone possibly to have died. It's why you don't dare speak out against trans athletes. It's why you don't dare speak out against trans and kids in schools, because certain political administrations are more concerned with flying the rainbow flag atop their embassies in Middle Eastern countries and in pushing for gender and sexual equity in those countries, rather than just building solid relationships that are productive. And then we don't understand why the Middle Easterners are more willing to work with China and Russia than us, because we're busy shoving a degenerate ideology down their throats. And we're shoving this degenerate ideology down the throats of our children. To the person who thinks that if the way I spoke was not mad enough, and I understand your comment. Look, I did not speak angry. I did not scream and spit and throw a tantrum or a tirade, but that's because I want to continue to be heard. And I want to try and give other people a chance to be heard through my channel when and where I can. I'm small potato. I'm so small. Right? 165 subscribers. Who am I? I'm not even a drop in the ocean. YouTube's the biggest channel there is out there, though. I've been doing this, 4 months now, 5 months, 165 subscribers. But I put my stuff up on YouTube. I get like 2 or 3 videos, 2 or 3 views per video. YouTube is how you reach people right now. Rumble, I put it up on Rumble too, hoping to build a base, but YouTube is where people find me. You can't get too involved, you can't get too irate, but you need to understand it's coming. And I am so excited for conference. I love conference. I'm going to make another short video on conference here, but how long until the woke scolds, the media elites, and the government, contrary to whatever church leadership says, they will ignore the Constitution and create some sort of end around to silence the prophets and our voices because of what we believe? Because we do not kneel before the corporate message to the accepted government narrative. And it can be critical theory, it can be COVID, it can be injections. You're fools. And on injections, hold on just a second. Let me look this up. Here we go. I want to bring on Watcher Palmer for a minute. I hope I get this at the right segment, because he's going to echo my sentiments.
That were 3 9-year-olds taken out and 3 adults in their 60s taken out by this individual that had a manifesto that we're not going to find out what that is. And there's an obvious reason why we're not going to find out. Why? Because it's an attack on Christians, and that doesn't go with the narrative. There's a certain narrative, and it's okay that Christians get persecuted and have things done to them because they're old-fashioned, their views are old-fashioned, and they cause all the stress and the issues and the mental illness and everything else. And they cause all this for that alphabet group, right? And I obviously have to be careful what I say here on this channel with this, but it's very disturbing the narrative of the almost every media form of media, local news. You'll hear it that there's, because the first thing you want to know is why would this person want to do this, and that's what you won't find out. And
that, brothers and sisters, he doesn't know what this is called. Maybe you don't know what this is called, but that is repressive tolerance. That is, we cannot let the wrong ideas or thoughts even be voiced. We cannot acknowledge them. Because if we do, then there might have some sort of claim to legitimacy. And it might harm the overall message that we're trying to push. Let me bring you to another one. From the USA Today, Wayne State University suspends professor over social media post allegedly advocating violence. It's not alleged if you can see the violence. See, it's free speech goes so far, there are consequences. You cannot call for violence. Well, what did this professor say? The post stated that rather than shouting down those with whom we disagree, one would be justified to commit murder to silence them, Wilson wrote. We have on many occasions defended the right of free speech guaranteed by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, but we feel this post far exceeds the boundary of reasonable or protected speech. It is at best morally reprehensible and at worst criminal. This is from the university spokeswoman. Well, what did he say? He said, here's what the university professor's post said. Although I do not advocate violating federal and state criminal codes, I think it is far more admirable to kill a racist, homophobic, or transphobic speaker than it is to shout them down, the Post says. Right-wing groups invite speakers to campuses to provoke a reaction from left-wing groups. Now, see, here's Trotsky for you. This is where, or was it Lenin? I'll have to look it up. 1911 speech. It's either Lenin or Trotsky. Protesters get blamed instead of the bigoted speaker. The university administration finds a perfect excuse to side publicly with the racist or phobes, and the national and international press has a field day saying the bigots are the ones being oppressed rather than the people those bigots actually hate being the victims of oppression. And then he cited a post, a Jewish, Russian-born French poet who assassinated Simon Petlura, the former head of the Ukrainian People's Republic, 1926, because he had lost his family in the pogroms of 1919, and that Schwarzband was then acquitted by a jury. So you see, if you will just kill the bigot, you will be let off because society will recognize the just and correct action of the just and correct decision in your actions. Seriously, does anyone out there think you listen to how people talk about the church? And I'm not talking about our view on prophets or temples. I'm talking about our view on the LGBTQ community and marriage. Just the fact that we do not sanction marriage within our walls and we will not perform sealings within our temples. We are, by their definition, trans and homophobic. They don't recognize our right to think or even exist. This is the lunatic fringe, and this is the growing leftist religion. This is the religion that sacrificed their babies to the sun god that the earth might not be consumed by heat. These are those who would trans your kids in the name of equity. These are the ones who would legalize and normalize adult activities with children. You see, minor attracted persons now is no longer a crime in their minds. It is a state of being. The language used in normalizing MAPS, minor attracted persons, MAPS, is the same that was used to force acceptance of the LGBTQ lifestyle in the 80s, when they were arguing, we just want to be accepted. We just want to be seen as people. We just want to be seen. I remember the freaking arguments. And everything conservatives are worrying about 40 years ago is coming to a head today. Repressive tolerance. If you'll just silence the bigots and the phobes, if you will limit certain fields of science to certain messages only, we can prevent bad science. If you limit the voice of politicians to accepted speech and codes of conduct, we will eliminate bad conduct and in all these things create real tolerance. Where there's one message that everyone accepts. There's one truth that we all adhere to. Two plus two becomes 5. That was actually argued a few years ago. Remember? Racist math. That there were times when 2 plus 2 could be 5, but because of racism, white man says it has to be 4. Except for 2 plus 2 is always 4. Anything other than 2 is not 2. 2.25 and 2.75 is not 2. It is something other than 2. In both cases, it's something more than 2, 2.25 and 2.75. Then you get 5. But then you stop having 2 plus 2, don't you? But that's the problem. And they will shout you down for disagreeing. They will lower standards to dumb down your children. I know there are groups out there that need help. But idiocracy is not the way to go about it. Enjoy conference. Feel the Spirit. Listen to the messages. And honestly listen. Don't cherry pick what you love the most. Don't listen for your favorite speakers and tune out the others. Because I think there's going to be a lot said this conference. And I look forward to hearing Last Dispensation talk about the millennium being tomorrow. Brothers and sisters, thank you. I love you. Peace out.